Hello friends, welcome to Learner's Planet. Friends, this is our first session for simple and compound interest. In this session, we will discuss the basic terminologies related to simple and compound interest. Let's first of all try to understand what an interest is. Friends, many times we have to borrow or lend money. Generally, we borrow money from bank, finance companies, or maybe from individuals. So the person or institutions, whatever, whoever is giving money to us will definitely not give it for free. Now what happens when we have to return the money, we have to return some extra money also apart from that the amount that we have borrowed. Now this particular extra money which we are repaying is actually interest. Now suppose I just take an example over here. Maybe I take 1000 rupees from say SBI or maybe from any individual. If I take 1000 rupees from an individual, that means that individual will tell me that he will be charging 12% interest. Okay, that is 12% per annum. That means for 1 year, if you keep this amount, you have to return 12% extra with this amount. Okay. So suppose after 1 year you wish to return his money, that means apart from 1000 you have to return 12% of 1000 to that person. Okay, that means 120 rupees extra you are going to return. That is 12% of 1000. That means in all 1000 plus 120 you are returning 1120 rupees, and the sum you borrowed, that was only 1000 rupees. Okay, so this 120 rupees is nothing but interest. Okay, so you do not, or I do not get the money for free. We have to pay some interest to get the money. Okay, so let's discuss the other terminologies also. Now the first thing is principal. Now what principal is? The money lent or borrowed is called principal. Okay, that means the amount which we are taking from the bank or from any individual or maybe from any financial institution is called principal. Suppose for your maybe house, you are taking a loan of maybe 10 lakh rupees or 12 lakh rupees. So that 10 or 12 lakh rupees is actually a principal that you are borrowing from bank. And you might have heard about that in the advertisements, it is written there that housing loan is available for 10% or maybe for 12% or something like that. So this 10% or 12% is nothing but the interest that is charged per annum basis. That is charged on per annum basis. Okay. So if you are paying 10% interest, that means of the total amount, suppose you borrowed 10 lakh rupees from the bank and you are paying 10% interest, that means you are paying 10% of the principal per annum to the bank. Okay, that is supposed 10% of 10 lakh, that is 1 lakh rupees per annum you are paying to bank as an interest. Okay, so the extra money paid on it after a fixed time is called interest on the sum borrowed for that time. Okay. Duration may be changed. It may be for 1 year, maybe for 2 years, and so on. It may be for 6 months only. So it's between the person who is lending the money and the person who is borrowing the money. Okay. So these are the basic terminologies like principal and interest. And the third thing is rate. Rate is what on which the borrower is borrowing the money. Okay, suppose as I'm telling you, suppose you are taking money on 10% interest. That means the rate of interest is 10%, and generally it is calculated on per annum basis unless until it is specified. Now there are two types of interest. One is simple interest and other is compound interest. Now we will take first of all simple interest. Now what's a simple interest? If the interest on a certain sum borrowed for a certain period is reckoned uniformly, then it is called simple interest. That means suppose you have borrowed money from any bank, maybe you borrowed 1 lakh rupees, okay, and after 1 year you are returning that amount, and maybe bank is charging 10% rate of 10% rate of interest. So what is happening over here? it's this 1 lakh. On this 1 lakh, you are returning 10% extra, that is 1 lakh 10,000. Okay, so this 10,000 is nothing but the interest, or here in this case, it is simple interest. Okay, now what is the total amount that you will be returning after 1 year with this interest? Its total amount is amount that is principal plus simple interest. Okay, so that means you borrowed 1 lakh rupees. So this 1 lakh rupees plus the simple interest, that is 10,000 rupees. So in all, in this case, you will be returning 1 lakh 10,000 rupees to bank. Okay, and this is a formula for simple interest, that is PRT over 100. That is principal into rate of interest into time for which the money is borrowed divided by 100. Okay. It's very simple, and this is a single formula that we will be using to solve all the problems are of simple interest. Okay, no need to mug up other formula. You should be conceptually clear what simple interest is and how it is calculated. It is nothing but a certain percentage of the principal, okay, that you are going to return. I hope you are clear. Now let's discuss compound interest. Now what compound interest is? Friends, I just take a very simple example once again. Suppose I took 1 lakh rupees from a person, and I am going to give him 10% rate of interest per annum. Okay, so after 1 year, what will be the scene? This 1 lakh rupees plus 10% of 1 lakh, that is 10,000 rupees. So in all, I'll be paying 1 lakh 10,000 rupees to that particular person. Now what is happening over here? Suppose I don't want to return the amount after 1 year. Okay. Or maybe I'm not able to return the money after 1 year. Not even the principal, not even the interest. This is the interest. I'm not able to return the interest. Now what will happen from next year? The amount which is due to me, due from my side is 1 lakh 10,000, isn't it? I borrowed 1 lakh rupees. After 1 year, I have to return 1 lakh 10,000 rupees, but I'm not able to return. That means now I have to return 1 lakh 10,000 rupees. That is not 1 lakh, but 1 lakh 10,000 rupees. That means I have to return the interest portion also and the principal portion also. But suppose I'm not returning anything, or I'm not able to return anything, that means for second year, that means after completion of the first year, from the second year, my principal will be this. That means I will be charged interest on interest also. That is on this 10,000 rupees, this 10,000 rupees, even on this amount I have to pay interest. Okay, so that interest on interest is called as compound interest. Okay, and we have to pay money like this only on our day-to-day transactions with the loan. Okay, now suppose for the second year, my amount to be returned or as a loan with me is 1 lakh 10,000. Okay, so this is my principal for the second year. Initially my principal was this, but I didn't return the principal as well as the interest portion. So for second year, my principal is this. Now suppose the rate of interest is same. That means further after 1 year, the due amount will be 10% of 1 lakh 10,000. That is 11,000 rupees. Now, what is my due amount after completion of second year is 1 lakh 10,000 plus 11,000. Okay, so the total amount which I have to pay is this. That is 1 lakh 21,000. Okay, so this 11,000 was the interest for the second year. The first year the interest was 10,000. Second year the interest for interest will be 11,000, and for the subsequent years the interest will be charged on the new principal every year. Okay. Now for the third year, suppose I do not return the money even after second year, then for the third year my principal will be 1 lakh 21,000. Okay, so if the rate of interest is same, then now I have to pay the interest on even this 21,000 also. We started with 1 lakh. In the second year, we reached 1,10,000. Now we have reached 1,21,000. So for the third year, I have to pay the interest on this. Okay. That means for the third year, I'll be paying the interest as 12,100. Okay. And for the after completion of third year, I have to return this 1,21,000 plus 12,100. Okay. So the sequence will go on. So I hope you must be clear about what is the difference between simple interest and compound interest. Okay. In both the cases, simple interest and compound interest, there is no difference between these two for 1 year. Okay. Unless until the interest is charged on some other pattern, maybe half yearly or maybe quarterly or something like that. Generally, if the interests are charged annually, then there is no difference in compound interest and simple interest for 1 year. Okay, because the compound interest is interest on interest, so that starts from the second year. Okay, so when we will be taking problem, you'll be better cleared with this concept. Now, we have already discussed that compound interest is simple interest on previous year's amount at the given rate. And SI and CI, that is simple interest and compound interest, are same for the first year if the rate of interest is applicable on annual basis. Okay, and this is the formula for compound interest. That is, here A is amount. So this is the amount, P is the principal, R is rate of interest, and N is number of years. Or maybe it is, if the interest is compounded half yearly or maybe quarterly, then N is changed accordingly. So that we will discuss while discussing the problems. So here amount, that is the complete amount, that is principal plus interest. So the complete amount after n years is principal 1 plus rate percent. Okay, now just once again we take a very small example, so I just clear the things one by one. Suppose I borrowed rupees 10,000. Okay, so in first year this is interest and this is the total amount. Okay, maybe the rate percent is 10% per annum. Okay, so in first year what will be the interest? It's 10% of 10,000, that is 1,000 rupees. So the total amount is 10,000 plus 1,000, that is 11,000. Okay, now for second year, what will be my principal? This, if I do not return this money, if I return this money, then there is no problem. But if I don't return this money, then my principal will be this. And if I return this money, my principal will remain same. Okay, so suppose I do not return the money, that means for the next year, my principal is 11,000. Then for the 10% rate of interest, interest will be 1100, and 11,000 plus 1100, 12,100, that is the total amount for the, so this is first year, this is second year. For the third year, the principal will be this, that's 12,100. Okay, now 10% of 12,100 is 1,210. Now the total amount will be, after 3 years, the total amount to be returned is 13,300 if I am not returning even a single penny in this duration. So I started with 10,000 and after 3 years I have to return this amount. Okay, so this, the portion 3300 is actually interest portion that is accumulating year by year. Okay, so I hope you are clear between compound interest and simple interest. Now let's begin to solve the problems with a very simple problem. The simple interest on rupees 10,000 at 7.5% per annum for 4 years will be. Now simple interest is, that is PRT by 100, where P is principal, R is rate of interest, and T is the duration in years. So P here it is 3,000. Rate of interest is 7.5, or I can say 15 by 2%. Okay, and T, that is 4 years. Okay, so it's very simple. we can calculate it. 15 twos are 30 and 30 into 30. Okay, so 900 rupees will be the interest amount. Clear? Now, let's do this question. In what time at simple interest will a sum of money triple itself at 10%? Okay. Now here we are not giving what the principal is. We are just have to triple the money in a particular duration, and now we have to find out that particular duration. We are given the rate of interest over here, that is 10%. Now we know the formula, that is for simple interest, it's PRT by 100. Now let's go step by step for a better clarity of concept. We want the money should be tripled. That means if I have 100 rupees, I should be getting 300 rupees after certain period of time. That means what is the interest portion? From 100 to 300, the interest portion is rupees 200, isn't it? So 200 is the interest portion. Suppose the money is 100. Principal is 100 only. Rate of interest is 10. Time we have to calculate, divide by 100. So what T is? T is 20 years. Clear? You should be clear that if the amount is getting triple, that means the sum, the difference or the interest portion is 2 times. Okay, that is if we started the principal as rupees 100 and we are getting 300 after some period of time, that means 200 is the simple interest. So the simple interest value 200 I put over here. After filling the remaining data, we'll getting time period as 20 years. Okay. Now the problem is quite similar to the previous one. At what rate percent per annum a sum will become 4 times in 5 years. Okay. Now the principal, suppose I assume the principal to be P, or you can maybe assume it to 100 also. Suppose I assume it to be P, that is principal, and I have to make it 4 times, that is 4P. Okay, so what is the interest? Interest is 4P minus P, that is 3P. Okay, now what is the time? That is 5 years. So simple interest is equal to principal into rate into time by 100. Just put the values over here and just get the value of R. What simple interest is over here? That is 4P minus P, that is 3P. P is P only, R we have to calculate. Time period is 5 years by 100. So rate of interest is 60%. Okay. Friends, you have to be clear with this concept that if the amount is getting 2 times or 3 times or 4 times or maybe 5 times, what is the interest portion? Because in this case we have to take interest portion over here only. Generally the students make mistake that if the amount is getting 4 times, they just put 4P over here and eventually they get the wrong answer. Okay, so if you put 4P over here, then you'll be getting the rate as 80%, which is also given in the option. You think you have done the problem correctly, but finally you get a negative mark for it. Okay, so be very clear. You have to fill up the data as SI, that is the difference between the principal and the finally amount to be returned. Okay, now let's take this problem. What sum of money at SI amount to rupees 1300 in 4 years and to 1525 in 7 years? Friends, though the problem is very simple, then also we will discuss the problem in detail since this is the beginning of the problem solving sessions. So it's better that you should be clear with all the concepts. Okay. Now we understand that the principal is fixed and that is the amount that we are borrowing from any individual, right? So principal is fixed. Now as far as the case of simple interest is concerned, that is also fixed on per annum basis. That means simple interest is same every year, same every year. Okay, I just repeat it. It's same every year. That means if it is rupees 10 for first year, then it will be rupees 10 for second year. It will be rupees 10 for third year and so on. Okay, so principal is fixed and simple interest is fixed. Now, in the first case, we are given that the amount becomes 1300 in 4 years. So amount is what? Principal plus simple interest. Now simple interest for 4 years. Okay, I just write it as 4. Principal plus simple interest for 4 years is rupees 1300 and principal plus simple interest for 7 years is 1525. Okay. Now further interest for individual years is same. That means if I deduct this amount from this amount, I'll be getting interest for 3 years. Okay, that is I deduct this from this. So it's S simple interest for 7 years my simple minus simple interest for 4 years is 1525 minus 300, that is 225. And this is the simple interest for 3 years. Okay, because principal was same. So if 225 is the simple interest for 3 years, further I would repeat that simple interest is same for every year. That means each year the simple interest was 75 rupees. Okay. Now 75 rupees is the interest per annum. That means in 4 years the total interest will be 300, isn't it? 75 1 year, that means for 4 years it will be 300. Now 1300 is the amount which was accumulated after 4 years, that and out of that 300 is the interest. That means the principal was 1000. Isn't it? The problem is very simple. Okay. Now, alternatively, what you can do is you can go by option. Generally, you try to choose the options which looks quite easy to understand. Suppose, for instance, I take 1000 rupees. So now, if you are going by option, do not touch your paper and pen, or maybe you can make a less use of paper and pen. Now, suppose I take the option is 1000. Okay. Now, if it is 1000 rupees and it is being 1300 in 4 years, that means 300 rupees is the interest charged. Okay. So 300 in 4 years, that means 75 rupees per annum is the interest charged. Now just cross verify it. If 75 rupees for 7 years, that means 75 into 7, that is 525 only. That means the amount which we chose, 1000, was correct because it's verifying, it's satisfying both the conditions. Okay, so you can do it like this also. So both the options are there. You can do the problem like this and you can do the problem mentally even. But I think after practice you'll be able to understand the concept and you'll be able to do the problems mentally. Now let's take the next problem. Now let's discuss this problem. A man deposits rupees 5,600 in a bank at 3.75% interest per annum. After 6 months, he gets. Here we have to calculate the simple interest on this particular amount for 6 months. Okay, 6 months is what? Like it's half year. Okay, now what simple interest is? It's principal into rate into time by 100. Now principal is 5,600. Rate of interest is 3.75%. And time is, we have to put the time always in years. If it is 6 months, you have to divide it by 12 months. So you'll be getting the time in years. So it's half year. Okay. So it's okay. So what was the simple interest? That is 105 rupees. Clear? Now let's try this sum. A certain sum is kept for 8 years at 4% per annum simple interest. The interest received from the sum is rupees 340 less than the sum. We have to find out the sum. The very obvious manual method. First of all, let's try. So simple interest is PRT by 100. And what is a simple interest? That is P minus 340. Okay, because it is 340 less than the principal. So it's P minus 340, that is P into R into T by 100. Okay, so 100P minus 34000 is equal to 32P. That means 68P is 34000. That means P is equal to 34 into 1000 by 68. So it's 500. As simple as that. Okay. Don't try to recall anything, because even with the normal method you can solve the problem in less than 30 seconds. Okay, and that is the best part, that whatever the method which is coming to your mind for the first time, that will be the best method. Because if you start thinking for a shortcut and that takes long time, that would be rather worst case. Okay. Friends, we will be solving more such problems in our next session. Till then, do revise this session and all the other sessions also. Bye bye.